Hi, good morning, everyone. As promised in the workshop, here is just a background or example of a previous submission. Now, this submission had some good points and some bad points. I'm going to go through two examples, but it is quite long, so just bear with me. So I'm just going to go through it systematically. The student scored quite well in just a general indication, and the presentation wasn't too bad. With the drawings, some deductions of marks were made, and also um, the story enclosure estimation was okay. Didn't do too badly there, and then we had the elemental estimation that he scored quite well. And then the comparison wasn't too bad as well. And then the letters to the client, that's where some marks were deducted. But let's see how it panned out. So you can see the identification is quite well, the declaration is included, and also a good table of content is provided showing the story enclosure. Just note that the steps might differ slightly because the question is slightly different this year and the rubric also. But you will get the general idea when you see what they've done. So I'm just scrolling through it. The story enclosure method, you can see he went through the steps. So he opted to go through the questions systematically. You can also consider having like your letter at the front as if when you present it to a client. So that might also be an option that you can look at. So you can have a look at that. But he started with his calculations, just calculating the story enclosure methods. You can do this on Excel also, which is also nice to present. He didn't have any suspended floors, but he went through it quite thoroughly, just doing the necessary calculations for the story enclosure method. Just note here, this is also where he lost some marks, is the references. Just note that you will have to um, this is not necessarily necessary to reference, but please just use reputable references like the AECOM report, or if you have to refer to the study notes, you can just put in a note here as well, referring to the notes, appendix, and the page numbers, just to improve the um, scientific section of it. And then he did his story enclosure tariff calculation. He used the standard items. He had some references here as well. If you have personal communication or wherever you resource your rights, just make sure that you reference it correctly. Um, don't just put the year number here, just put the page number. If it's a personal conversation, also just note that. Just go through the blue book to be proper, or to reference it properly. Then we have the rate per sanitary fitting that he calculated. So he opted for the template on within the study notes, and he filled in the rates to calculate his actual rate per fitting. And then his surface bed factors, so he calculated that, his external wall factors, his total story enclosure factors. Again, just look at the referencing, basic building costs, the external works. He then went on to calculate that. Remember this, just refer to the model BOQ as well if you want to reference some of these external works, electrical work. Um, yeah, this could have been a bit broken down a little bit further, which could improve his mark. And then he just did his external works, plumbing, electrical, as an additional cost to his estimation. Then he just showed how he added up everything to get to the final estimated cost. Um, professional letter. So this is where he started with this. This is maybe not the best example of it, but remember, have a look on the internet or internet on good reference letter or cost report letters. Remember, this is the opening letter that all of the attachments above is actually attached to. Okay, so that was basically what he did there for question one. You will see he had annexures for the actual measurements on the dim sheets, etc. Then he started with his elemental estimation, his dim sheets that he did. He did this by hand and scanned it in basically. But remember what I said in the workshop, you can also use Excel or whatever means that you do measure it on. This is ideal if you could measure it like this. But I do understand that all of the information isn't always available like this, and also we're progressing into new measurements. Um, Even though this module is not building quantities to actually do the measurements, you you can opt for whichever method is deemed best. Okay, so just a aesthetic thing when you're sending this to a client, these type of scans, just make sure that it's nice and square. I could pick up in this one that where this was actually linked to his actual measurements. Then he had his cost that he calculated, where he converted his rates, building up cost components. This was quite thorough as well, that he used. Again, ideally, the rate build-up section would be an ideal template for this, where Excel actually helps you a lot. And also, when you've set up that rate calculations, then you can use it in practice as well. So it's very handy to actually have it in Excel. So then, yeah, that was also quite thorough. I could pick up all of these rates in his elemental estimation. So, yeah, quite thorough. Ticked all of the boxes basically. I'm just scrolling through this very quickly, and then yeah, we should be I just want to get to the actual elemental estimation. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through it so that you can actually see what the student did. Then we've got the cover page. So this is ideally, you would see, like here's a mistake. This should be changed to the correct form. So I'll be looking for little mistakes like this. You will see that everything does add up. He excluded the items that he didn't measure. And he could actually do some of the escalation and the areas so that we could get to a rate per square meter. Remember that your director or the client will immediately zoom into this, having a look at whether it's within the ballpark. And then just some realistic dates for the project. Just look at when the start date is, when the finishing date is, to actually have that in. Also be mindful of what's included, what's excluded, and then the actual summary starts. And then just have a look at your layout. Things that I can pick up here is, for instance, just your print settings. This is quite a skill that you need in practice, is to make sure that your page breaks are correct and that the display of your information is quite thorough. So in this case, I could see it's more like the page break that was here just underneath the item 8 that actually caused this lines to be out. So that's just about the presentability. Then we get into the components, and you will see, yeah, I could the race that I spoke about earlier was actually included here. So this is quite thorough. Again, this page breaks, just be mindful of that. But all in all, the submission was thorough enough to get a good mark. But you could see that there was some room for improvements. Then the professional letter again, just stipulating what was above, just mentioned the main thing about this letter is what is included in your estimate, what's the scope, what does the client have to take note of as additional costs, etc. So very important to just be mindful of that. Yeah, so that was it. And then the comparison. This is basically your discussion. I can't go into this too much, but highlighting what you would see is the differences and what's the pros and the cons of it. What the speed, for instance, the available information. Think a little bit about of if you've worked with the system for a while, how good it will be, etc., etc. So just make sure that you've got that in mind as well, and then make a conclusion. Okay, and then the drawings. Like I mentioned, the student did lose some marks for this. He used a drawing from one of the UFS drawings, so there was gaps in a sense of finishing schedules that I couldn't link to the rates, etc., etc. Um, and then just his terms and his references that he used. So in all, not too bad assignment because he ticked all of the boxes. Some additional things that he could do was to add, like the finishing schedules, assumptions that he had also. So just be mindful of being transparent and actually dissecting what the information you're actually working with, and to be as honest as possible. So I think this is a good example just to give you an idea. And then in the next section, I'll just have another recording of another assignment, which is now towards the other side of the spectrum. Okay, so I'm just going to stop it there for now. Okay, so this is a second assignment that I referred to. It's basically double the amount or number of pages of the previous one that we had a look at. But you can see it started with the declaration form, the cover page, just the basic items, the layout, the index included. The student it started out with the letter and dealt with the actual answering of the questions as a separate item or separate documents or annexes to that letter. So the layout I kind of liked. It wasn't too bad. It started out in portrait, then it went into landscape. Um, so again, the student in this case lost a bit of marks because there was a bit of redundant information included. A little bit too much was included in it. So it had a financial analysis that it looked at, and the student really tried very much to put in the summary and notes and the assumptions as well, which was good. Um, and then the summary of notes. So it was easy to navigate um, the submission. And then the actual started out with the layout and the calculations. It included the adjustments for the estimation, so I could see that the student is active in practice and knew that okay, this estimation maybe didn't make sense, or that he had to add some items which wasn't included necessarily, like the floor tiles. Um, the storage enclosure tariff actually maybe didn't account for the type of floor tiles that was included, expansion joints, all of the little extra things. So the student really had a lot of information that he added to it. Like I mentioned, it can be a little bit too much, but I could see that he actually um, grappled with the question and included as much information. But the trouble with this is sometimes you have to convey it concisely so it doesn't overwhelm whoever is reading it. So like having page breaks or so within this explanations that's caused some trouble sometimes. So just have a look at your layout. It does contribute a lot to actually understanding what you're saying. Um, but I'm just going to scroll through this so that you can actually see what was done. Um, like I mentioned, this is the other side of the spectrum, maybe including a little bit too much in the actual calculations. So the adjustments in external works, and then adjustments for external works again continued. Um, yeah, so quite thorough in all of his adjustments that he did. Okay, so and remember, just the store enclosure method is supposed to be a quick method to get to your answer. So it can, it is sometimes a thing of over engineering it. So just be careful of that. But all in all, the student conveyed that okay, he really went into getting a proper estimation, which he in the end actually did get. Just scrolling down, some other external adjustments, adjustments of external works just continued. You can see the multiple adjustments that he did. He basically measured the whole thing, which at this point when I started marking it, it was, yeah, just a little bit too much. So just have a look at it, and then finally got to the factors that he actually used there at the top. Okay, so you can see the layout is quite good. It starts with the estimation, and then it goes into how he actually got to all of those estimations. So if you're watching this video, just scroll to the start of the assignment just to navigate yourself. This should have actually been all annexures to his store enclosure estimation. Okay, so just scrolling down, then we finally get to part B, which is this elemental estimation. Again, he starts out with his letter, and then he gets into his actual estimation. Okay, and a nice breakdown again, and then he starts with the summary section, what was included, what was excluded. He gave a bit of a synopsis of it. And then a summary of notes before we start with the actual measurements. Guys, so he gave a nice synopsis of his actual estimation. Then we've got the summary page, summary of costs continued again, and then the elemental estimation structure, the final sections before we get to the components. Okay, so and you can see he, in this case, this student actually reverse engineered his items. He could have saved a bit of space maybe just to include the numbers here separately on this side. Just look at the template that I provided there. But I could basically follow what was included. You can always exclude the items that wasn't applicable to your document to make this shorter. But all in all, he basically ticked all of the boxes. I could see that he worked from an actual project with all of the necessary information. So this is just his elemental estimation. Going through it properly, ticking off all of the boxes. Like here is a page that's not really relevant. And also then this is something that a client doesn't want to see, division by zero. Just look for that type of errors. And then just scrolling down, obviously just remember I'm also going to look at the actual estimation, whether the number it tallies with your drawing as well. Okay, so that is that. Just going down further, you can see how thorough it was. Okay, and then getting to the final is section of getting to the final estimation. Does this actually link up? And here is where the student actually lost a few marks because this didn't get to the final cost that was in the summary. So just make sure that this actually tallies up to 115% that actually goes to your summary page. Then the rate calculations, he did it in Excel, which was nice. And what is nice about this is now in future you can now automatically link this to your bill or to your elemental rates that can change and fluctuate depending on what information you actually use. Okay, so quite thorough in that aspect. This I personally like quite a bit. a thorough, it ticked all of the items. I could find all of the rates in the elemental estimate. So this was quite good. But you can see because of the number of items that he measured properly in the elemental estimate, I could actually find all of these things. Okay, so this was good. Going down again. Sorry, I'm scrolling down now because it's a very, very long and detailed section. He actually included items that he didn't necessarily have to include so many items. So just be mindful of wasting space. Okay, so that's it. So we're almost there. Okay, then the cost estimation, final pages. Then we get to see the comparison. Yeah, okay, yeah, he did a good comparison. I think he lost a few marks just on the practicalities, but all in all, he actually included quite um, all of the comparisons. Then again, here, just have a look. He is already in a landscape format for most of the assignment. Now suddenly he jumps to a portrait for his drawing. So now um, it kind of is counterproductive to his layout. So he lost a bit of marks on just simple layout things. But all in all, that was good. Okay, and oh, just as final note, when you're comparing the two estimation methods, that's actually where you can include one or two references, which is nice. So, and I didn't see a reference list, so the student lost that as well. So, but all in all, I think this two assignments will give you an example of how a submission should look, and good luck with the finalization of it. Okay.